All right, welcome back to Latter-day Women Warriors. We're so glad you came back with us. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, come and join us every week as we talk about things that we think are important. And hopefully other people think they're important. I don't know, we jibber jabber, but I think we hit points that are important. So welcome back to be with us today. Today I wanted to talk about something that I don't know if people really realize unless they have kids in school. Because I only know because I drive a school bus, so I know what they're doing in school, right? And so, how to explain this? They don't celebrate Valentine's Day anymore. Okay? They celebrate Friendship Day. Now, I have to read a letter from a principal.
Oh, this is good. This is getting good, Myrna.
This is none of the schools that I go to. Okay, this is just a principal. I got this from some news article. It's from I can't remember what school it is, but their initials are YES, and it's Youngmont something school district or whatever. It says, as you know, I got to put my old lady glasses on, sorry.
Those are not old ladies. Those are fun Transformer glasses.
As you know, February 14th is the date of Valentine's Day each year. At YES, which is their school, we have been reflecting on celebration of this through an inclusive lens. As a result, our reflection and research this year, Valentine's Day will be celebrated at YES on February 14th as Friendship Day. Part of that celebration, we wanted to let you know, well in advance, that you do not need to send any items to school for this celebration. We'll take care of everything here. Different grade levels, teams have been planning and will celebrate Friendship Day. Multiple things to do, such as making cards for each other in an activity that connects the class. The focus for students is on friendship and recognizing other classmates in our community. As such, Valentine's cards, candies, and toys purchased outside of school should not be brought to school on that day. If those make their way in, we will have students place them in their bags to bring back home. We appreciate your help with this. We are confident that students will have a positive Friendship Day celebration on school on February 14th. Okay. I was like, oh, wow. And then
There's more.
yes, there's a channel called Fun 107. And I don't know where in the country it is. I'm sorry. But they had on their morning show, they talked about it. And this is some of what was said about an actual letter that was sent home to this person on the Fun Morning Show.
Right.
Their nephew, okay? That the same thing, that they were going to have Friendship Day only. And actually, this school was going to have Friendship Week. So for the whole week, they were going to do things. And actually celebrating the Friendship Day was not going to be on February 14th. It was another day of that week that was not February 14th. So they were going over and beyond to not recognize Valentine's Day at all. And she said, I can't even believe that I'm about to defend Valentine's Day. It ranks number 2. She says it ranks number 2 only behind New Year's Eve as one of my least favorite holidays. I know it is a manufactured Hallmark holiday, but it but its sentiment based on love cannot be all that bad. I guess it just bothers me that because of a vocal minority, and this letter said that it was one parent that complained. So the whole school changed everything for one parent in this school. The kids in this particular school will be denied yet another sense of normalcy that we experience as children. I'll admit it. It was exciting to see if the pretty girl gave you a Valentine and what she wrote on it, even if she handed out one to everyone in the class. It was a good old fashioned fun. Parents, if the worst thing your child may face in life is not getting a Valentine's Day card, they will be just fine. Instead of depriving all of the children of the experience, perhaps instead make an effort to be sure your child is included in the experience. We continue to water down any experience our children have while in school, good and bad. Everyone is a winner. Everyone is the same. If our kids are denied of any sort of real life experiences and disappointments, how can we be shocked when they get out into the real world and are vastly unprepared to cope? Okay, so here are 2 schools, and I have, driven kids home, and I have said, like, "Happy Valentine's Day" to them or whatever, and they go, "It's not Valentine's Day, it's Friendship Day." And
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, and then here's my thought. Well, some of you I really don't think are my friend because all I do is have to tell you to sit on your pockets all day long. You drive me crazy. I wouldn't consider you my friend. Right? I mean, it's like, what do you mean? But this is what the schools are doing is everybody's the same. Everybody gets everything. Now, I used to think it was terrible that we had to it was my younger sisters. I was in the time where you only gave the Valentines to the ones you wanted to give them to.
Right.
And then my sister's younger than me. They had to take Valentines for everybody in the class. And I used to think that was a stinkery. But now I'm like, well, at least they're letting them do Valentines, right? Even though they expect them to send a card to everybody in the classroom, at least they're letting them call it Valentine's Day and they realize what it's about, what it's all, celebrating. But this frustrates me because it's like a lot of other things. We're taking away traditional things that look towards a traditional family, right? And that kind of, that bothers me because there is nothing wrong with the traditional family. It's like if you have a traditional family, now you're out in the boondocks and you know, you're the crazy ones now. So what do you ladies think about Friendship Day?
Okay, so
I like how you said that, Myrna. Friendship Day.
It's like I remember our family parties. We would get together and we'd call it triple F Day, forced family fun. Um, it that's what it feels like. They're forcing you to be friends, right? This is your Friendship Day.
oh my
Like, oh my
gosh.
gosh, isn't it Friendship
Okay.
Day every day? I mean, come on.
So
Anyway, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I went ahead and for a moment there, I was looking up our local elementary school that my kids used to go to. My kids are older now, and on the 13th, they're having a family dance night, and on the 14th, it starts their weekend of President's Weekend. So they like give them days off for all the different presidents' birthdays and stuff that happen. So it's not even on the calendar because no one will be in school that day. Did they get around it by doing that?
They might
Like,
have.
so it's
We're
nothing
cool
is
that
even
day.
on the calendar. And that's
We're-
sad because I know kids, they have fun. They're the poor Valentine market. Like little card market. Where you get a little bag candy and you put a little candy in the card and
We didn't put candy in ours.
Oh
I was
no,
too
we
old for the candy
totally
thing. We just did the cards.
same. And then
And
you
so
go
and
around.
most of ours were handmade. We didn't have
Oh, I'm
we
so
didn't have
sorry,
the
Myrna.
market stuff. I'm
Oh,
old. I'm
you
very
are
old.
old,
We
Myrna.
didn't have the well, maybe it was because my family couldn't afford the market stuff. Maybe I
Okay,
should say it
maybe.
that way. But
So,
they hadn't been out very long. I'm
and
old.
I remember doing it, and it was fun. In fact, what we used to do is when I was growing up, we made everyone was asked to bring like a shoebox in, or the teacher had some extras, and we covered them and creatively designed them and had a slot in them so
Mhm.
that everyone could put a card, and it was
Yep.
exciting, and you got to take it home and see. And the thing about this, when you're talking about traditions and traditional family and that type of thing, this was the moment, like, I'm talking probably 3rd grade is when you're like, "Oh," you get more excited. Maybe younger, you're like, "Oh, everyone gets a card. I'm happy. I wanna get all the cards." It was like 3rd, 4th grade where you're like, "I really kinda like Timmy." And Timmy, maybe I'm gonna give him a more candy than the others. You start making those decisions. Like, maybe instead of just writing Timmy's name, you're like, "You're cool, Timmy." Like, that's how
Or
you discovered your first crushes.
or
And
Sally got a couple of extra X's and O's.
uh-huh, a couple extras and O's, and you're like, "Did she see that I did that? Did she see that the
Yeah.
others didn't get as many X's and O's?" You start
Mhm.
thinking in that realm.
Yep.
And
Yep.
one of my most favorite stories from my mom is about the boy, growing up, that she even remembers his name. His name was, of all things, race dribbling. For this kind of thing, he put a Hershey bar in her desk. And it was his way of saying, "I like you." And I'm like, that is the innocence of childhood, with starting to try and figure out what this feeling is about liking someone, and and thinking it's those beginning little thoughts. And Valentine's Day for adults is focused on reigniting that love, or fanning the flames of it, and celebrating that they're together, which I think is fantastic. And for kids, it's this sense of crushes and stuff. So if you just say it's all about friendship, what? Nobody should ever have a crush on anyone. No one should ever get that disappointment, because, ladies, we all know someone's been dumped at some point. Like, that disappointment with that little liking is tough to take. High school kids, it's tough to take when you like that boy, and then all of a sudden he starts dating this other girl, and you're like, "Oh." Hurts, man. Hurts to watch it. But you have to go through all of those things. It's a normal part of life. And of all things, who knew I would advocate for Valentine's Day? Wow, Myrna, what
I
have you
mean
done to me?
I mean,
What are you
come
doing?
on. I just can't understand how Valentine's Day can be traumatizing for the kids. I mean, when you go home and you get your box and you're at home with your box, did your mom go through it and say, "Oh, you only got 10 cards?" I'm sure there were more than 10
Mhm.
kids giving stuff out, right? And then you start saying in your kid's ear, "You only got 10 cards," and then the kid starts to feel bad. Well, why not say, "Wow, you got 10 cards. That's great."
Right.
I mean, I wonder if because of knowing kids as well as I know them and spending time with them every day,
Mhm.
except for Saturday and Sunday. Well, even Sunday I do. Um, they bounce back so well, right? That if you don't continue to harp on something, they will forget it very quickly. So if it's a bad experience, just give them time. Another thing will happen. And I, I just think that we're putting too much value on something that is so little. Because if you're still with your person that you're in love with at 5th grade, then have you really grown up any at all? I don't think so.
I don't think
Right?
so.
I mean, the chances are that none of these kids
Yeah.
in elementary school
Mhm.
are going to ever be with each other down the road. I
Right.
mean, we're talking 1 in 150th times thing, right? So, why are we so concerned with this? Because I think it's important to teach kids what the value of love and the value of expressing it, right? Regardless whether it's um that you don't understand it, still expressing it is important, because then you get older and you get married and you get nothing for Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
Right? Because
Do
they've
Anjanette
never
and I
learned
do Anjanette and I need to come over there, Ernie?
it, they never learn to express things, right? That
Right.
it's okay to express feelings. Um and that's a problem I have. Go ahead. And
I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think what this is yet another sad example of today's modern society, and the adults, or supposedly adults in today's modern society, hyperimposing their difficult experiences upon,
yeah.
like, the experiences of their kids. Like, I had this time in the 4th grade when little Johnny didn't give me the Valentine's card that I wanted, and it traumatized me for life, and I never got over it. And now we
It's
have to
okay.
make it Friendship Day so no one else goes through that pain. And,
Yeah.
it's again, we're opting for, denying people difficult experiences that will help them to grow as individuals. They're difficult, but they're important, versus, um, allowing people to go through difficult things and allowing them to grow. It's hard to see people that you love go through things that they struggle with. But it's really
Mhm.
important. If you deny them those experiences, they turn into, adult children who
Mm.
can't handle it if Valentine's Day passes and it doesn't Valentine's Day doesn't go exactly how you want it to go. Like, if the worst I mean, having experienced a lot of Valentine's Day that did not go the way that I wanted them to go, if that's the worst experience you have in life, you're golden. You're doing fantastic in life.
Absolutely.
Mhm. The other part of this too is, even if it is Friendship Day, come on, you can still end up with, and I'm going here, with the politics of Valentine's Day. It's the, I like Timmy, but I need to make Timmy jealous. So I'm going to give a bigger piece of candy to Johnny and then maybe make Timmy jealous. And if it's in friendships, well, Sally has made me mad. And so I'm only going to say happy Friendship Day, Sally, but my other friend, I'm going to be like, I'm so happy we're friends. I'm so happy. The politics that can happen behind the scenes is not going to be any different. You can still have those spaces even if it's Friendship Day. But those are also disappointing moments. So are we just going to say, guess what, kids, you can't have disappointing moments in life. Everyone gets a trophy. You don't need to learn how to struggle through and be upset and hurt and learn how to control and those emotions that are so new to you. Like, you need to have
Yeah.
these moments to have an opportunity to work through it. Because you're right, Angela, it's gonna end up with just children, adults, and immature, and no one will be able to survive a relationship because every little injury is like, you should be nicer. Oh, but people are human, and that doesn't always happen. So work through it.
Well, yeah, it comes down to us having adult children that can't handle when their boss tells them, "I'm sorry, you don't get to have that day off. You have to work," or
Hmm.
"I need you here on this time," and they are late every day because no one ever made them be on time. Because now in school, you can be late. It doesn't affect anything anymore. It's not a big deal anymore. And it just reminds me that years ago, I had a kid in junior high, a girl in junior high that, uh, oh my goodness, she's in junior high and she's still sucking her thumb and just being, and I'm just like, oh, all right, okay, I don't know. I
Reese's.
think that I think that that's a little bit old to be sucking your thumb. And so I think it comes down to this parenting where we never want to hurt our children's feelings. Well, if we never hurt our children's feelings, not that we're supposed to do it on purpose, but if we never have let our children have their feelings hurt, they never learn how to deal with their feelings,
Correct.
which is the same as me never being allowed to express my feelings growing up. Okay. So it's the same thing. I could feel them, right? And I had experiences where I failed and where I succeeded, and I had all these things happen in my life. I was that person that that went home with maybe 10 cards in her box.
Uh-huh.
So I had those experiences, and that's okay. That's part of growing up. That's part of living life, right? Um, but the problem comes with never being able to have feelings because you never have experiences to have them, right? So then when these feelings come up, you don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually we act out physically because we don't know what these feelings. That's the first action that comes with feelings, is acting out physically. And so then we fight physically, or we hurt people, or we whatever, because we have never had these feelings before. We've never had to learn how to deal with them. We've never had to learn how to talk through them. All we've done is been good. There's been no bad. There's been no hurt. There's been no pain. There's been no feeling not important, whatever. There's never been any of this because everybody's the same. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's a winner. And the problem with that is that only works in school when it's protected. When they get out into the world, you'll end up with children that'll live in their parents' basement the rest of their life because they can't hold a job, because they can't handle being told they didn't do something right. So I guess we've taken Valentine's Day to children living in the basement. Sorry.
Well, and
Unfortunately, that's happened a lot. So
I'm curious with these decisions that schools are making. Are they, it makes me want to know statistics now. Are physical fights on the rise? Are they struggling with it more because we are in that stage of life development where it is everybody gets a trophy. The opportunities of difficulties and working through them are not being as presented, in my opinion. Because
Well, they don't exist because everybody's good.
look at the other things that they've taken out of the schools. They've taken being held back a grade. They've taken you can't get an F and actually fail and have to repeat. These hard things. Do you know how hard it is for a kid who has to repeat the 3rd grade? Everyone was with him in 3rd grade, and then it's like, oh, he's in 3rd grade again. He's not in 4th grade. What happened? Well, you know what? It's better for the kid. He's being held back, and that social pressure, he needs to learn how to deal with it. Or she needs to learn how to deal with it, because it will be better for their future because they did not learn that stuff.
Right.
They
they're taking
were
a lot of
struggling.
they're taking a lot of things away, which require mental work to get through. Does that make sense?
okay.
Because you control your emotions mentally.
Mm-hmm.
right? You tell yourself that this is not something that, yeah, I know I want to hit this person, but I shouldn't hit this person. So we control our
Yeah.
emotions mentally, but
Mhm.
they never have to go through those mental discussions with themselves or with anybody else because everybody's the winner.
Right.
Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
They have proven, and I haven't actually looked at the statistics, but I know that they have proven that over the last 10 years, there's a rise in, I don't know if it would still be considered juvenile,
The
but kids, I still call them kids, um, out of high school, that first year out of high school, there's a larger amount that are arrested.
Oh.
Um, and I think it can easily be linked to the fact that they've never had to worry about anything before. They've never had to figure out anything before. They were never told that they were behind and they need to work harder to catch up to everybody else. They were never told that, that they never had a disappointment in their life, but then all of a sudden they're done with high school and they have to live life.
Right.
Well, they go to that job interview that they think they're just going to walk into, and they don't get it. And then, oh my gosh, their whole life falls apart. And then they go to, they get into bad things and there ends up being arrests. They found that age group is rising in arrests. And I think it is because they don't know what to do.
Well,
It's
and
not
I
completely their fault. It's
I'm
how
sorry.
it's how they've been taught, unfortunately.
Right.
They've never been taught how to process their emotions in a way that doesn't repress them, but doesn't overexcite them either. How to actually move through the emotion so that the emotion can pass and you can move into a different experience, a different choice, a different all the things. They've never learned how to actually process those things. One of my most favorite things I've ever seen on the internet, on social media or somewhere, was this beautiful video of a young child, elementary school age, in a karate class. And the child is crying and upset. I don't know if it was because the child was, like, scared to, like, break the board, but they were really visibly upset and they just wanted to give up. And the instructor gets down on the level of the child so he can see him in the eyes, and he's talking him through, and like, "It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not wanna do this, but it's important that you do. It's important because what's gonna happen is this and this," and it's just this really beautiful moment of this instructor acknowledging and validating that child's feelings so they could move through them, but also not saying, "It's not okay to give up. You keep going. You can do
Mhm.
this. You can move through this." And eventually, the kid, like, I don't know what happens. He does the kata or he breaks the board or he does something, and the kid's
Right.
like, and it's just the most beautiful moment that we have lost the ability to teach in our society today, how to have emotions without repressing them, but also without letting them rule you either.
Yeah.
Learning
It
to master the emotions and make the emotions your servant rather than your master.
exactly. It reminds me of my favorite statement that was made in, now I never can remember the movie, Princess not Princess Bride, the girl that finds out her dad was a royal,
Oh,
Oh,
and
Princess
Princess
Diaries.
Diaries.
Princess Diaries, yeah,
Yeah.
where, it says something to the effect of, it 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 wasn't that you were afraid that he was afraid, it was that you knew that there was something more important than your fear. So you had to push through your fear to get to the other side because there was something more important that needed to be done on the other side of your fear. And that's
Mm.
what's got me through a lot of things is the fact that I thought, "Okay, yeah, I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to not be successful. I'm afraid for all of this, but what's more important is on the other side, and I have to get through this to get to that other side." And that's what's pushed me through so many different trials and tribulations I've had in my life, um, in all different levels. I mean, I watched that movie probably, what, 30 years ago, and it still has stuck with me
No.
ever since. That
Mm.
is that it's okay to be afraid, but what you have to realize is there's something on the other side of that fear that's more important than succumbing to that fear, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to say something, Jen?
Yeah, the interesting thing in this whole conversation is that it's like looking at Valentine's Day as being something cute that, we do in schools and giving out these little Valentines, and adults, planning dinners and celebrating their love and all of that. But for these kids, it seems like a throwaway holiday. Something that,
Yeah.
give or take, right? And yet, in this conversation, it seems like Valentine's Day is another moment right now of an example of what is what's a problem in the way kids are being guided in life. It's another moment. It's now Friendship Day because they couldn't stand the crying and the tears because somebody didn't get something. And
Well,
it's so
it's
easy to
all
just
about the
overlook it.
adults.
Yeah,
It's
because
all
of the
about the
adults.
adults, is what it
It's
is.
not about the kid.
It's the adults that don't want this holiday.
Mhm.
It's not the kids. The kids
Correct.
really don't understand that Valentine's really is for those that have a special partner in their life,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
That's what Valentine's is. These kids don't understand that.
No.
They'll give Valentines to anybody, and they'll take Valentines from anybody. For them, it's a fun little holiday. So the adults have made it
Mhm.
into this big political shiz. Um,
Yes.
when
Yeah.
when it's just a holiday, let them have it like they've had it for years.
Yeah.
Here's the unintended consequence of what's happening. It's well intended, kind of, sort of, that we want everyone to have a good experience on Valentine's Day. We want all the kids, to have friends and to grow up feeling like they belong to something. Really, I mean, those are all good intentions. But when you take Valentine's Day and you make it into Friendship Day, and at some point that kid's gonna find out, like, no, this is actually Valentine's Day. This is not
Yeah.
Friendship Day. It's Valentine's
Yeah,
Day.
exactly.
They're not dumb. They're gonna figure this out.
Yeah, they're gonna figure
Especially
it
when mommy and daddy always go out to dinner with nice roses and chocolates and all the things on you like at some point kids are not dumb. They will figure this out.
right.
When you move Valentine's Day into Friendship Day, you're teaching kids that it's not okay to have romantic feelings. You're teaching kids that it's not okay to have certain kinds of feelings. And that has very bad unintended consequences. I
Mhm.
know because that's what I was taught growing up with my
Oh,
parents
wow.
that had their own
Mhm.
emotional issues,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And the reality is that those emotions are going to happen in the human experience whether you want them to or not. And
Right.
so you can either choose to prepare those kids for those experiences, the good and the bad and the ugly and all the things, so that they can learn to move through those experiences and become healthy, balanced, well-adjusted adults. Or they become what's happening in our society right now. They're not balanced. They're not well-adjusted. They can't move through emotions. And therefore, they stay in a hyper state of Peter Panism. They never grow up. They never know how to actually become a true hero and become an adult and to move through the challenges of life. The unintended consequence of making it Friendship Day is that you're teaching people that it's not okay to have romantic feelings, which means when they become an adult and they actually have romantic feelings, they're going to act out on those feelings in very unhealthy ways, like addiction, like pornography, like anything else that could possibly come from that. And they certainly will not get any closer to getting married or being in a relationship that could lead to a family.
Amen. I think that,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that they don't think about the effect this is having on the children in learning how to move past their feelings, right? But what to do with their feelings. Because it's okay to have these feelings, but it's like, mm, not always are they gonna be reciprocated, so we need to learn how to allow that and let it be. Right? Mhm. So,
So
that's what I wanted to talk about. You had it Go ahead, Jen. You had some
it
more to
was
choose
just
out.
it was just gonna be I think this conversation is funny right now because again, Valentine's Day just seems like one of those little, holidays. It's one of the ones in February and seems so mundane, I guess, pedestrian. And yet, in this moment, we've just said Valentine's Day is showing us in this child world all the ills that are upon society in a way that it's one of those markers. It's showing us how things are running and how people are thinking about it, and all these little things that I like that phrasing you used, Anjanette, the unintended consequences of the adults choosing how to present Valentine's Day to children or not present it. And it's showing a lot more than, oh, hey, it's Valentine's Day. We can see a lot from it now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what's interesting about the whole thing is that we can see one little thing can affect society as a whole, right? Because
Yeah.
this one little thing can produce enough kids that cannot handle their emotions, that it can cause a effect on our judicial system. It can
Mhm.
cause an effect on our workload, our ability to fill jobs.
Mhm.
It can have an effect in many different areas down the road. But
Mhm.
all we think about is now. So I think what we need to remember is that there have been many things, and I wouldn't say that everything we've done in the past is correct. I'm not going to say that. There are
Right.
probably things that were wrong, but like not having seatbelts was wrong, but I still survived and lived. But I think that sometimes when we try to change things to like the one letter said, inclusive, I
Mhm.
think that we misunderstand what really inclusive should mean. And so they are making it something that doesn't fit all of these kids. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
Mhm.
um, we need to remember that what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise kids that can handle the trials and bad things that are going to naturally happen to them in life. And if we take any opportunity away from them to to feel those feelings and learn how to go through those feelings, we are hindering them down the road. And that hindering can make something a big problem for us in society as a whole, in a country as a whole, because we have that now. We're watching right now a lot of things that are happening that we thought we fixed so that everything's better for everybody. And now we realize it's not. So we're trying to fix it back. And it's just affecting everything. And the society right now is in a mess. And it comes from trying to do this inclusive thing that doesn't really exist. And that's all I'm gonna say about that because we could get into some trouble. Um, you know me. Um,
We do.
what I just wanted to point out in this whole thing is that there are things we're supposed to be teaching our children as we're growing up. And I think Valentine's Day does one thing, and it teaches your children that they're not everything to everybody. That
Right.
there are right, that they're not
Hmm?
they're not the Buddha, so to speak, right? They're not
The
the one
cat's
that everybody's
meow.
gonna bow down to and let have whatever it wants, right? Maybe that was the wrong thing to say. I'm sorry.
They're not hyper enlightened because they're 6 years old.
Exactly. They're not all that and a cat and a bag of worms too, right? I mean, they're
Right.
not important to everybody. I
Mhm.
think I'm just digging my hole deeper. Um, I tried to get out of the Buddha one, but I think I just dug my hole deeper.
I thought Jeanette saved you really well. Enlightenment. Awesome.
I, I can listen to her, right? Anyway, we need to give
Yes.
them chances to realize they're not the only person on this face of this earth
Right.
that gets everything that they need, right? Or want. And
Mhm.
then there's times when people are not gonna like you. There's times when people are going to like you. There's people that you're going to treat kind sometimes, and there's people you're not going to treat kind sometimes. We have emotions, we have feelings, and we need to work through them. And the only way we're going to be able to work through them is if we allow them to feel them and we talk to them about those feelings.
Right.
It doesn't justify them going around and beating Timmy and punching Timmy in the face because
No.
he got more Valentines than he did. That's not what I'm saying. But he needs to be sat down and talked to and said, yeah, I know. It makes you kind of feel kind of bad that you didn't get as many Valentines, right? But that doesn't mean you get to go hit Timmy in the face.
Right.
You need to teach them that it's okay to feel it, have feelings. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with having feelings. I want to make
Uh-huh.
that known. But it's what you do with those feelings that determine the type of person you are to
Right.
the rest of the people in your life. And that is what's important. And that's this tiny little thing called Valentine's Day is a moment to teach. And I think we as adults sometimes are too busy that we don't want to take those moments to teach. And we have children raising children instead of teaching. And that's what's important is we need to teach them that it's okay to have feelings, but that it's what you do with them that makes you the person that you are and the person that people love. So anything else anyone wants to say before we terminate this one?
Go
I've done well.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to our viewers.
Yeah.
Our
Happy Valentine's
listeners
Day.
are always our Valentines.
Yes. Valentine's
That was
Day.
good.
We love all of you, and we're so glad you listened to us. And we would like to ask you to hit the like button. And if you have watched us a couple of times and you've come back a couple of times, subscribe. We get that you're not going to like everything we say, but we're probably going to say something you're going to like again down the road. So subscribe so that you can get notices that we're there. And then you can determine whether you like that one or not. But we love that you listen to us. We love doing this. We love sharing our feelings and helping the world to know that there's 3 crazy women that have feelings and they're willing to feel them and they're willing to share them. And that's us here. So thanks for coming and being with Latter-day Women Warriors. And I hope you have a great day and subscribe and hit the like button and we'll see you later. Continue to fight for truth and righteousness in these latter days. Bye, guys.
Bye.